31 October 31 October 2023, 4 o'clock in the afternoon, Rio de Janeiro City, RJ, Federative Unity, Brazil. Seems that we had a security summit or domestic security forum considering the entire federation and the Brazil on Rio de Janeiro City, and was released at the period by mistake, passing through the judicial system, the prosecution, the police, and now others, some maniacs that are really dangerous elements, and the city kind of is having a big mess. I suggest to you stay at home, for instance, if your area is having problems like gunshotting or something like this, because those groups in general kill each other. We will put at the mobile because once in a while we have our light cut, and it doesn't matter which is the reason, the light once in a while is cut. This is a fact and a situation that we face. We will have the idea as accountability to the International Criminal Court, considering, do I look like the Uncle Sam? And considering the objects we complained and the campaign we do at least since 2002. Nobody deserves to be changed into a criminal or be considered part of a criminal organization without the interest. There are no legitimacy in any record doing this about you or setting a misperception about who you are, your personality, your personal goals, dreams, and the history of your family or everything. Once in a while we observe, including the reasons to put you down as having your death. If go by entertainment, using the stage and architecture of power, you must consider that this area will face problems, especially if has signed contracts confirmed by the Congress about human rights, international security, and tranquility. We will observe, the idea is quite simple, the antitrust justice and the International Criminal Court with objects that we could have. Here I will present in the same way, and I will read. The International Criminal Court will do the accountability as the credit, moral entity with legitimacy to represent expectations and present what we expected as institutional and state responsiveness against the organized crime and the misuse of power. The International Criminal Court will present the misuses at state or institutional power. This is an architecture of power. To the antitrust justice, we presented by all evidence heavily proven in the same way the concurrent association and development of criminality from corruption in net corruption, segmented with finalism in general economic, and achieving after this the power and the gains. It's a trust scam for sure. Our note is quite simple. Only happens inside the architecture of power. Since corrupted and the elements or the broken window kept at this way, but exposed as not rational use of those architecture. And then we will move forward without hesitation in the way we do since at least 2014. We will observe that the relation debit and credit as public or corporate, with an error in the middle representing the risk by the corruption unveiled as criminal purpose at the use of state and institutional power, will allow me, after having the simple and humble accountability, understand that on present time I have 197 nations. Before I had a number a bit lower, which is 197 minus something. I will put as the n. And in the near future, I will have, if I consider the division of this, having a new number of division that I represent as the n with a capital letter. I will get quite simple and quite clear that by interval and using the composition as a matrix, the period at the past indeed suffered any kind of situation to form this new moment here, which implies the misuse at this relation public debit and corporate debit sourced at the misuse of credit. And in the same way, we will observe that now this, and then I will have a new nation or a new period. I will have the situation here and the second element here. It means that this period is a frequency higher. This period is the event that we are having nowadays as something very starting at this moment, the new nations after an interval here, and then we will have the expectation as new nations that indeed are related on present time with the misuse as debit and credit, public and corporate, representing the risk. Is this happening in Brazil? For instance, having the misuse of public credit and resources or corporate credit representing the risk as transference or financing, for instance, the interest as a narco-government or narco-state or some kind of architecture of power unveiled as criminal architecture of power by the corrupted use of concurrent elements that affect the integrity of the entire thing is embedded as a system, now using the idea as a matrix. I will have that I have the first moment 1 up to n, 1 up to 197 as a present time, 1 up to n. At the future, the composition of a matrix is set considering the events that we have at the past, the events we have on present time, the projection I'm doing at the future, highlighting with a different color as this segment here, from this moment at this matrix that indeed is engulfing the present time, as you can observe, which is the moment before plus the current time, and the evidence we have as interest on it, right? Considering the areas of struggle, any of those areas had receiving, not only from Brazil, public resources or corporate resources by the misuse of credit, including campaign of artists or something like this. If this goes on, it's confirming our report that the object at the antitrust justice misuse at state or institutional power at the International Criminal Court exists. The misuses exist. The second object as major proof offered at the antitrust justice is the concurrent development of criminality at corruption and from corruption, with a finalism very specific as economic interest to obtain the economic power and economic gains. Then you got the institution and the continuity of things. These two both represent the architecture of power, because only happens inside the architecture of power, which implies the state or institution. And the architecture of power, if corrupted, will expose the not rational use of resources and things, kind of as you could observe here. Then you can have the accountability, you have a lot of lie and excuse to do not ask or assume the resignation you must do or is obliged to do. Then you bring things to arbitrariness, violence, more lies, fake records covering all things, tyranny or something like this. Am I telling an absurd? Have a nice Halloween.